Hello, dear friends of the truth. I want to do a deep dive into the alleged threats of a Christian Zionist against Charlie Kirk, because there's much more to it than you might think. Let's start. So, first of all, I already told you I think it was in a German video, that metaphorically, Tyler Robinson killing Charlie Kirk means Jacob killing Esau. I will explain it to you better in the end. But first, we look at what happened. So, Diligent Dennison found out who allegedly threatened Charlie Kirk. It was shared by Candace Owens, so I think this is the right woman. Her name is Laurie Cardoza Moore. And already in the threatening text message, "Be very careful, Charlie," she mentions a text of the Bible, Obadiah. And she also mentioned that in an earlier post here, unrelated to that, but she also mentions Obadiah, which seems to be very important to her. Descendants of Esau, Edom, and members of the tribes of Israel will pay a huge price for how they treated their Jewish brethren. And this is a very, very important text in the Bible, and especially Kabbalists talk about that very often. I will explain it to you. Then Sam Parker found out that she thinks she is of Sephardic Jewish descent, which also plays a major role. Please watch my interview with Sam. It was a great interview. It's a bit long. Sometimes the audio is not perfect, but you understand everything. Please watch it. It was really a great interview. And here's the receipt. I asked him because I didn't find it in the thread, but it's in the video, in the first video. It's an Israel 365 news article where she writes, "As a lover of Israel, I recently discovered that my family's lineage could be traced back to the Sephardic Jews of Portugal." So she says it herself. The rest of the text is also interesting. Maybe I read one of it. 1 in 3 people surveyed harbor particularly hateful beliefs that the Jews control the monetary system and the government, with many blaming Jews for the COVID pandemic. All anti-Semitic tropes now being mainstreamed and normalized. I will not comment on that, but that's what she wrote. So, this is the important text. Obadiah. It's the prophet and he has visions, and it's not an exaggeration that this text shapes our world today. I don't know if I can explain everything in English, but it's all in my book, written out, but I try my best. So this is the most important verse here. "The house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau stubble. They shall burn them and consume them, and there shall be no survivor for the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken." And Esau is identified by later rabbis and Kabbalists as being all Gentiles. What most people already know, that Esau is identified with Rome and Christianity, which of course at that time didn't exist. So it was made up later. But a more broader definition is that it is all Gentiles. Maybe I go now to this important verse. I cite it very often in German, but you don't know my German videos, of course. So I have to give you that most important piece of evidence, what's going on in the world. It's here. Gershom Scholem, the Cabala expert, writes in The Messianic Idea in Judaism, and he's writing about the Zohar, which is the main work of the Cabala. What is in there, or what's the purpose? The Gentiles who are designated Esau or Edom, however, will suffer the opposite fate. They receive the light in this world at a single stroke, but it will depart from them gradually until Israel shall grow strong and destroy them. So here's a clear evidence by Gershom Scholem. There is also another interpretation you will find in my book, but this is what they believe, that all Gentiles will be destroyed in the end times. So it's quite a threat to pick this, this text of the Bible. And now we go back. And I show you that also in other texts. This is a text written by Rabbi Isaiah Halevi Horowitz in the 17th century already. It is this thought that dominates the benediction we recite at the end of Sabbath when we refer to God who makes, this is how she also writes God, by the way, who makes a distinction between the holy and the profane, between the light and darkness, between Israel and the Gentile nations, and between the seventh day and the 6 days allocated to work. So here clearly the identification with the darkness, the Gentile nations are identified with the darkness. That's the same. You can read it also on the website of Chabad Lubavitch, who is connected to Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. And this, in the same text later, it says, Isaac erred by loving Esau and not paying attention to the separation between the holy and the profane, and the Gentile nations, respectively, as outlined above. So Isaac erred by loving Esau. But what's important here, that in the Bible, so in many rabbinic texts, Esau is the bad guy. You might remember that. If you're not too familiar with that, Esau forgave Jacob, but Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. So this is an important thing to understand in this religion. You can read it everywhere. Esau is said to be the wicked Esau. Just type in on Google the wicked Esau. So in rabbinic writings, Esau is also always the bad guy. But if you look at the story, Jacob stole the birthright of Esau. And Esau was so generous that he forgave him because Jacob needed help. I think he betrayed somebody. So the real story in the Old Testament is that Esau is the good guy who helped Jacob. But in rabbinic writings, he is the bad guy. That alone should tell you something. And Jacob is Israel. Jacob was renamed Israel, and from that comes the word Israelites. So he's the beginning of the Israelites. Think about that. The bad guy in the story is at the root of the Israelites. And Esau is the bad guy, although he was the good guy. That's already, very important to understand. when you talk about this particular religion, and I'm not talking about the Cabala here. That's the Talmud. So let's go back. And there is one very interesting writing. It's called Kol HaTor. I didn't find it on the Sefaria website, but there's another version of it, and curiously, it is deleted. I found it in the Wayback site, and this piece was found by a researcher I will interview in a few weeks. I won't name his name now because then you would think I share all his views. I don't, but he did a great research on these things. And in this translation, it says, the main desire of the mixed multitude is to couple Esau and Ishmael and to separate the two Meshachim. And Amelius, the angel of the mixed multitude, is the one who attempts to couple Esau and Ishmael, and this could destroy Israel and the entire world. Ishmael stands for Islam, and Esau, in this case, for Christianity. And you might think that I'm making this all up, but here is a very important article from 2025. And this is by, the organization's name is Beit HaShoah. It's hard to spell that, but this is a community of Sephardic Jews. So exactly where the roots of this Christian Zionists are from. And he begins with, or the article begins with, "Dear Christian friend." That sounds nice. But then he's exactly talking about the Obadiah. And what is he saying in the end? You can check it all yourself, the whole article. The end of this article. In 2025, as Israel faces threats and celestial signs unfold, consider this. Hashem's Torah tells the end from the beginning. Esau and Ishmael's spiritual system may oppose Jacob, but the fire of Jacob and the flame of Joseph will prevail. So what he's saying here is that Christianity and Islam will combine, will join forces, but in the end, both of them will be destroyed. That's very important to know for Muslims and Christians, because this is their thinking. And just, I don't want you to forget this. It didn't get enough attention, I think. The two brothers of Andrew Colbert have ties to Fort Huachuca. It's not everything correct what he writes here with the that they have multiple events there, but in general it's right. The two brothers, Lieutenant Kurt Colbert and Robert Colbert, have ties to Fort Huachuca. That's absolutely unbelievable. I just want to mention this to not forget it. And now I explain you the Tyler Robinson thing. So, metaphorically, Tyler Robinson killed, according to the official story, Charlie Kirk. But metaphorically, it was Jacob killing Esau. Why? First of all, of course, Kirk Church stands for Christianity. Charlie himself stands for Christianity. But also the names give us a hint. Because Tyler Robinson's middle name is James. Tyler James Robinson. James is the brother of Jesus, but in the Greek original, it's Jacobus. That's why he's also called Jacob in German. So his name, his middle name means Jacob. So Jacob is killing Esau because Charlie Kirk stands for Christianity, but there's one more thing. Also the middle name of Charlie Kirk, which is spooky, is also James. So since James is the brother of Jesus, metaphorically, Tyler kills his own brother. because both have the middle name James, which stands for the brother of Jesus. So metaphorically, he's killing his own brother. And Esau was the brother of Jacob. This is a little bit spooky because how could you plan something like that? But I just want to mention it. So I hope, despite English not being my original language, you understood all of that. It's a very important thing, the whole story of Jacob and Esau. I go into that in my book in great length, great depth, and it's out in English. And of course, the English in the book is better than my spoken English. So please, you have to look at that. And I will have an interesting interview about that in the next weeks. Yeah, spread it far and wide.